Hey, hey, hey.
Hey.
Welcome back to High Heels Happy Hour. I'm Christina.
And I'm Ingrid.
It took a while there. Were you questioning whether or not?
Maybe.
Yeah. So this is the podcast where we discuss entrepreneurships and all the different things it brings with us in this thing called life. And today we're gonna go slightly different route, but still it all comes back to life in general. So but before we dig into that, let's check in. How was your week, Ingrid?
My week was great. I actually got to take out Chance for our first
Chance the dog. For
Chance
those
the
of you that have
dog.
listened earlier, Chance the dog.
He went with a super cute. It was a oldies but goodies event.
Mhm.
So he had a bow tie, super
Aw.
handsome. And then I had a blue polka dot. Is that 60s?
50s. Yeah.
50s dress.
Yeah.
I did not wear high heels because I wasn't sure he was going to drag me, so I wore these really cute sneakers. So that was what was great. How about you?
Okay. It was good. It was January is usually quite slow in my business after the I mean, I'm sure a lot of businesses, but after the holidays and people are recovering from the holidays. So interior projects are usually not on top of anyone's list. But last week we started getting some new fun, exciting projects. So
I love it.
I'm excited to get to work on those.
It's always fun. Okay, so we love doing life hacks.
Yes.
So what do you got this week?
I got so dryer sheets. I can just say that dryer sheets, those things you put in the dryer to take away static um, um, electricity, I guess, static
Okay.
in the
They
but
smell
it's also
good.
they make it softer and
Okay.
all that. We don't have those in Sweden. I don't know about the rest of Europe, but I had never seen them until I came to the US.
What?
Yep. I brought some back from my mom. She just looked at it like, why do I need these? Anyway, I think they're the bomb. I use a lot. And two hacks. One, you could put them in your sneakers to make them smell a little better.
Oh.
Mhm. Number two, you can make them a little wet and take the bugs off
The
your
love
car.
bugs.
Yes, because love bug season is starting soon. So you can wipe because we do a lot of driving and there's a lot of bugs on here in Florida. We got plenty of bugs. So take because if you try to do it with anything else, they can sit like cement, but the
And they take your paint
dryer
off,
sheet,
too.
yeah, they can. The bugs, they have some kind of acid in them. But yeah, so wet some dryer sheets and then just wipe off the car, your window, everything.
You're welcome.
Yes. See? That's the
Right.
public service announcement for today.
I love it. And then mine is putting newspaper. We like to recycle. So if you like to recycle, that's fine. However, take a couple sheets and put it at the bottom of the bin and it absorbs any liquid. So it's not leaking.
Bad.
Even though
Maybe you
I
put some dryer sheets there too to make it
smell good.
better.
Yeah, you can. I usually do essential oils.
Oh.
I do that's 2 life hacks.
Oh, wow.
There you
We're
go.
just giving
Okay,
it
no
all.
more
today.
life hacks
Okay,
today.
and save some for another week. All right. So today we're going to dig a little bit into mental health because we do like health. And as entrepreneurs, we need to have we need to be healthy in order to run healthy businesses, right? But
Yes.
today we're getting into the part of mental health called PTSD. And since I don't know much about this subject, and I didn't know anything until I started hanging out with Ingrid.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
No, it's good. Everyone needs to know. But Ingrid, I am going to do the interviewing and the asking of the questions today, and Ingrid will do the answering because, as a veteran, um, you have experienced this yourself firsthand, or I should say, from trauma throughout your life, but especially as a veteran. And you've been in situations that have given or caused PTSD or caused you to live with PTSD. And there's a lot that for us that don't have it, that we don't understand and can be hard to kind of grasp. So that's what we're going to do today. We are going to talk about PTSD and kind of break it down a little bit, understand it better. Are you ready?
I am as ready as I can be. Bring it on.
Yes. And I will say that what I've seen you react to situations in a way that I'm not always understanding, or something will cause something that doesn't mean anything for me that can cause. And I will say the first time that I really noticed it with you was when we heard balloons pop,
Mm.
like you break balloons. And Ingrid almost threw herself under a table. And I just did not understand where that came from. But of course, now I understand all that memories that brought with it. But that was my first.
That was years.
That was years ago. But we didn't know each other that well. So
Yeah.
it was,
Gosh.
I didn't understand why she hunkered down and started covering herself. But of course, that was so that was my first encounter with someone that has PTSD. So let's go all the way back. What is PTSD?
So, first and foremost, I am not a medical professional. So,
You're not?
no.
Me neither.
So, what I say today is something that I've dealt with personally, and or close friends of mine have dealt with. So I kind of just came up with
speak from experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, please take it. I pray that whatever I say today helps someone, but please don't hold me to anything, because again, it's something that I've done and I found that works.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, PTSD is real.
Mm-hmm. And PTSD, what does it stand for?
It's post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah.
So exactly what it says is post-trauma.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing I will share is that the brain doesn't know the difference between trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're physiologically, your brain acts to trauma equivalently. So
Mm-hmm.
someone that maybe, let's be a little drastic, a pet passing away
Mm-hmm.
to a human passing away.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same process.
Okay.
Chemically happens in your brain. It does the same thing, whether it's a dog or a person.
Okay.
It's equivalently, whatever happens in your brain,
Mm-hmm.
equivalently happens with both scenarios.
Okay.
And I believe the faster you understand that as the human being that goes through PTSD,
Mm-hmm.
or someone that is seeing it from the outside, is that it is trauma. It's not, oh, suck it up, buttercup, it was just a dog.
Mm-hmm.
Or, gosh, it was a child. And they're easily valuable.
Mm-hmm.
So someone's child is probably someone's dog. So you can't, say mine is worse than the other.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
So
yeah, you
so it is
shouldn't
real.
belittle someone else's
Yes.
trauma. Yeah. Okay. And what does PTSD? What can it look like for the person that is experiencing it? Like how does it feel?
So it feels like you're in constant fight mode.
Uh-huh.
So we talk a lot about fight and flight.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really see a flight.
Oh, okay.
So when you're in this trauma, in that moment, you're anxious, you're nauseous, get sweaty palms, you get dizzy. All these, it's like almost like And I remember when you were little, that little binoculars, the red binoculars,
Uh-huh.
and you would go like this,
Yeah.
those pictures.
Mhm.
That's what happens in your head. All these thoughts,
Mhm.
flashbacks just kind of just zoom in as fast as can be, and you're
Mhm.
just almost like stuck,
Yeah.
almost paralyzing.
Yeah, you told me once, explaining it, that trauma that like that is reliving the
Yes.
moment. It's not just remembering, it's reliving. Like you're living through it again.
Again, yes.
Because we can have, you can remember something that hurt, and it could be a quick,
Mhm.
oh, it hurts, but then you're not reliving the moment. Okay, so
Yes. So
that made me understand better
with
what.
PTSD is exactly that. It's that process we don't feel, and I have felt this way, you don't feel like there's anything different. You can't imagine yourself living without those thoughts.
Mhm.
Like the almost like those thoughts and those scenarios, that trauma is a part of you that if you let go of that,
Mhm.
who are you?
Mhm.
And when you realize that all that trauma doesn't have to define who you are, that's where the beginning of healing kind of happens.
Okay.
But you have to almost unpack it.
Mhm.
And that's probably one of the hardest
Yeah, it becomes
things.
such a big part of who you are that.
Your identity.
Yeah,
It's what are you,
yeah,
what are you without
yeah,
your trauma?
yeah.
And for those that have gone through trauma from childhood or from a long time ago,
Mhm.
that's a piece of you.
Yeah,
That's it's a huge piece
yeah,
of you.
yeah.
And you're if you're wanting to heal, it's almost like you have to uh, begin to heal without a prosthetic, getting a prosthetic,
Mhm,
learning
mhm,
all over again how to process, how to
mhm,
love, how to act,
mm,
how to feel.
mm,
It's it's a
mm.
big deal.
Yeah. Now, what are some of the kind of long term? We talked about what it could feel like in the moment, but what are some of the long term ramifications of PTSD, and what are some kind of behavioral patterns that often kind of accompanies PTSD?
So tense. Some people pick up drinking. It usually numbs the pain.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
easier, but the next morning you kind of feel it.
Yeah.
Being closed off, avoidance. If you used to be someone that used to go out, you kind of avoid going out,
Mhm.
kind of a homebody
Mhm.
type of thing, and you use that as a defense mechanism. Panic attacks,
Mhm. Mhm.
avoidance. You're super irritable.
Oh.
Uh, you distance yourself. Overcommitment, and this has to do a lot with, since we're both entrepreneurs.
Mhm.
Uh, I've been told before I overcommit. And it wasn't until I started
Yes.
my
Yes.
process of healing that I understood by me being busy, I
Mhm.
didn't have time to think
Oh.
of my trauma, or I didn't have time to sit and think of everything that could have happened that went wrong,
Mhm.
or the weight of every time I do this, this happens. So if
Mhm.
I'm busy, busy, busy,
Yeah.
I don't
It's
have.
almost like a manic.
Yes.
So instead of drinking the sorrows away to blur them out, the busyness becomes the crutch, or the
Yes.
alcohol, the
Yeah.
blur.
And you tend to not remember sometimes, and this happens a lot, is, you're in an area and the smell of
Mhm.
something, the look,
Mhm.
someone's clothes,
Mhm.
the way they walk, the way they talk, the way they laugh, you'll hear that and it's a click, it's a switch, and you
Mm.
go in total panic,
They can be trigger
trigger
points.
points.
Uh-huh. Like
And
that balloon pop.
yes,
Yeah.
now it still startles me a little,
Yeah.
but now I'm like, wait, that's a balloon, Ingrid.
Yeah.
I have to kind of
Yeah.
hit my side, almost my side of my head. I'm like, okay, Ingrid's balloon.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Mm. No. Now, what would you say? And again, of course, you're not a therapist or a doctor, but what are some of the suggestions that you have, or ways that you have learned to cope with it, or you've seen others, ways that uh, others in your that go through the same thing, ways that they cope with living with
So,
PTSD.
a few things that I have come up with is it's okay to have intrusive thoughts.
Mhm.
A lot of times people say, "Oh gosh, like you shouldn't think that way. Oh God, like don't do that. You're being
Mhm.
selfish. Think of your family. Think of
Oh
your,
yeah. Or
think
you're
of."
being morbid, or you're being
Yes.
worst case
And
scenario.
yes,
Yeah.
and what I want you to know is that those intrusive thoughts are okay
Yeah.
because you feel the sense of a burden, the sense of not wanting to be here has nothing to do with what you have.
Mhm.
You can have a great family, great
Mhm.
kids, a great job. That doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And it's not that we don't care. It's in our mind, the concept of us not being here right now
Mhm.
means we're not dealing with it. And the
Mhm.
pain that goes with dealing with everything you've been through seems to be far greater just to kind of let it go
Mhm.
versus facing it. So if you
Mhm.
have those thoughts, knowing it's okay to have those thoughts, it's not okay to go through those thoughts. Realizing, okay, this is what I'm thinking,
Or you mean to act
to
on
act
them.
on it,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
speak with someone, say, hey, this is how I feel,
Mhm.
and ask for help. Because it's
Feeling it is okay, acting
yes,
as where it needs to be some kind of a
yes.
stop.
Yeah, and
Or
and feeling like that more than once
mhm.
is okay. More
Yeah.
than 100 times is okay.
Yeah.
That's unfortunately kind of what
Mhm.
happens in acknowledging that you have
Mhm.
trauma.
Yeah.
And denial is the it's a crutch.
Mhm.
Just say, hey, you know what? I do have. I am uncomfortable with this.
Yeah. As with
And
any issue you have, acknowledging the fact is, yeah,
be
that's
open to
big.
heal.
Mhm.
We're going back to realizing, it's okay to let go of that.
Yeah.
Not to forget, because you might not forget, but opening to heal and to talk. Even you and I being friends for
Mhm.
it took me a little bit
Yeah.
to say, okay, this is what's going on.
Yeah.
Because it's not easy. It's not something you understand. However, I was open to share that with you, knowing that there was no judgment to come back.
Mhm.
And that's huge. Just knowing that someone can understand and that you had no control over it. Not 8 out of 10 times
Mhm.
your PTSD or your trauma has been caused by someone, something, or yeah, something or someone
Yeah.
that did it to you. It
Yeah.
happened to you and you had no control over it.
Yeah. Do you think there's a lot of guilt too in the ways of comparing trauma to trauma? Like, I have PTSD for this thing that doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal, or it happened so long ago. Whereas someone who's like you've been in war zones, that seems like a fair PTSD versus, oh, lost my cat. I'm just saying, but I'm just
Mhm.
comparing. Do you see a lot of guilt with the people that feel that their trauma is not big enough to to experience this?
Yes.
Mhm.
And that's probably the top 3.
Oh yeah.
It's guilt, shame,
Oh yeah.
because even myself
Hmm.
going to war and experiencing childhood and all that stuff, I would hear stories
Hmm.
and I would say, oh God, like, okay, mine's not that bad. I
Okay.
don't
So
have
yeah.
it.
So what they
Like,
went through is so much worse than
yes.
what? Oh yeah.
And
No.
again, to kind of go back to what I said in the beginning, is when you realize
Hmm.
that your brain doesn't know the difference,
Yeah.
you can understand completely the mechanics of
Hmm.
trauma is trauma.
Yeah.
Whether it's someone stole my last Swedish fish to, gosh, I the RPG missed me.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
The scenarios are different, but the brain doesn't know that.
No.
So it still puts you in that mode. So again, it's not belittling anyone,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
which is it's huge. And then being open to shared triggers. That's
Mm.
something that
Mhm.
even now I can feel my heart rate kind of racing is just really open. And not everybody, not everyone is gonna care,
Yeah, you don't need
you
to
know. But the people that
advertise it, but for people around you that you're close
and that
to.
you care about,
Yeah.
you want to share with them, hey, this is what bothers me. This is makes me uncomfortable. When you do this, this is what happens.
Yeah.
Because if they love
Yeah.
you,
That makes it a lot
yes,
easier for people around you to understand that, okay, maybe we avoid that situation because that's a trigger.
yes.
Yeah. That's big.
And a few things that I've done myself
Mhm.
personally, I've done journaling.
Mhm.
And not long. I'm not a great writer up until now. Not really. I just write little words, thoughts, sometimes little passages. I've done EMDR.
Okay. What is that?
That's a kind of a movement with uh, sound, eye,
Mhm.
and touch.
Okay.
It's a little bit more intense.
Mhm.
So if do your research on anything that I share with you. I've done psychedelic treatments,
I remember
yeah.
you talking
And
about
that was
that.
for me. It was really great.
Yeah.
I've learned how to meditate,
Oh,
which is huge.
I still have not figured that one out.
It was so fun,
Mm.
so fun.
Mm.
And recently, I got a service dog.
Yeah, that's right. Chance the
Chance
dog.
the dog. And if
Yeah.
you subscribe to the newsletter,
Yes.
you'll get pictures.
You get pictures of.
Yes.
Yes, you get extra in the newsletter. Yes.
Yeah. And I will share with you on the show notes
Yeah.
places I've been to, other places that I've, come to know with working with the veterans. And if
Mhm.
you have any questions, reach out. But yeah,
Um, Now, are there things, I mean, maybe this is self-explanatory, but things that you should definitely avoid or things you should not do, um, as someone with PTSD.
dun dun dun.
Of course, avoid the trigger situations
Yes.
probably, but anything else?
And this is from my heart and is a lot of us, I've done it myself, is use your trauma as an excuse for your behaviors and actions.
Mhm.
And that's quite humbling
Mhm.
because it's our defense mechanism.
Yeah.
It's something that we do or we say because, no, I did that because I was in this situation,
Yeah.
or I did that because you said this.
Mhm.
And again, when you have people that care about you, knowing the triggers will almost avoid you having to have that excuse.
Uh-huh.
So the sooner you're able to say, okay, this is a deal, this is how I feel. And whether it's small, I mean, like I said, it could be a smell.
Mhm.
Um, Even for me, it was some clothing. It
Mhm.
used to be a black bag. If I
Yeah.
saw in the airport a black backpack, I would freak out. I would
Yeah.
literally just want to go up to the person and open their black bag.
Yeah.
And it was just so disturbing. So it could be as small as that to as huge as, going into a restaurant.
Mhm.
If someone has gone through trauma of being safe, they'll go in and they'll have to sit facing the door all the way to the back
Yeah.
to find out where they're at,
Mhm.
where the exits, how
Mhm.
long is it going to take to the exit.
Mhm.
So it's a lot of that, but knowing that is just live, don't live on excuses.
Yeah.
Just know what you have is real. And
Yeah, to separate it so that does not everything, oh, it all happens to me because X,
yes,
Y, and Z, and because of this.
yeah, it's
Okay.
it's almost just knowing what I know now, it's almost crippling.
Yeah.
And me being on not completely the other side, but me
Yeah.
working through it,
Yeah.
there's so much more that you can experience by not just staying in this
Yeah.
position.
Yeah. Now I've seen a definitely big shift in you dealing and getting on the other side. It's very cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of
Cool
work,
to see.
but it's
Yeah.
pretty good.
But as cool as it is to see, I don't think anyone who's not haven't experienced, we can never fully understand, but
Mhm.
hopefully after this episode,
Yes.
we'll understand, get a little more of an insight
Or be
to
open,
what it is.
carrying that hurt. I had someone share with me uh, that hurt. They feel guilty, even if it happened a long time ago.
Mhm.
Beginning to heal is within oneself. What would be you? Who would you look like authentically to
Mhm.
you?
Mhm.
If I was to reintroduce myself to you, who would I be?
Yeah.
You can't see my trauma.
Yeah.
You can't feel
Mhm.
my trauma.
Yep.
So how do you want to perceive and be authentically you?
Yeah.
And when you begin to think of what you want to be inside without hiding,
Mhm.
it's scary,
Yeah.
but it's also you are in charge of who you are.
Yeah.
And again, with trauma, we've been taught subconsciously, your mind has been telling you, no, you're not good enough.
Yeah.
No, don't go into that door because that's going to happen.
Mm.
Or don't love because this is going to happen.
Mm.
Don't get in that car because that's
Yeah.
going to happen. So it's
Yeah.
constant go. And when you can just say, you know what? No, I'm going to begin to just peel those pieces off.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah. I think
really,
we're gonna get back to that in the call to action, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, um, to kind of help out a little bit, what are some things that people around you, friends and family that are close? Of course, it's not going to be strangers off the street because,
Mhm.
again, you can't see the trauma. But for us that are around people with PTSD, what are some of the things that we can do to make it easier?
So first and foremost is judgment.
Yeah.
Again, suck it up, buttercup. Like, come on,
Hmm.
you've been through worse.
Uh-huh.
I've been through worse. So why is it that this is bothering you so
Yeah.
much?
Yeah. Yeah.
And be open to and understand. So be open to listen. And when I say listen, it's not for you to say, okay, tell me what's going on,
Hmm.
and then for you to just be like, okay, is that why you're
Or try to fix it,
trying to
right?
fix it? Yes,
Yeah.
you can't fix it. You cannot understand it.
Hmm.
You're not going to be able to, unless, even if you've gone through the same thing,
Yeah.
you're not going to understand the way that person physically, mentally, like psychologically runs it through their head.
Yeah.
Because they always say, some people that go overseas don't experience any PTSD,
Yeah.
even if they saw the same thing.
Hmm.
So it's all in the individual.
Yeah.
But know that as a family member or as a loved one, you're not going to be
Yeah.
able to help. You can guide, but
Hmm.
not really. Don't beat yourself up if you can't
Yeah.
understand
Yeah.
it. Just my next point is communication.
Yeah.
Is explaining it. We have had this talk, explaining it as simple as can be, so someone can say, "Okay, that's probably out of my league, but what I understand is this is how he or she feels
Yeah.
when I do this."
Yeah.
And this feeling is a little uncomfortable. So
Hmm.
therefore, I shouldn't do this.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as
Yeah.
that.
And it's that's important because that explains a lot and it makes us in
Hmm.
the close by understand it better and also can make it
A
easier.
little easier.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's great.
And then, real quick, I have a point here that I haven't highlighted. And so there is PTSD
Uh-huh.
and there's complex PTSD.
Okay.
And this could be a whole like 50 or 60 episodes, but
Oh,
I'm not going to go into
okay.
that. So I wanted to just share a couple of notes. PTSD is something that happens one time,
Okay.
a car accident,
Hmm.
or if you're on a roller coaster and the roller coaster, like all those people that have fallen off a roller
Oh,
coaster,
okay.
but
Yeah.
that would freak you out. Would you go on a roller coaster again?
No, that would
Just
no.
the thought of an amusement
Yeah.
park will probably freak me out. Okay. And then complex PTSD is something that happens repeatedly. and it becomes complex. It becomes a buildable effect.
Oh, like abuse.
Abuse.
Okay.
It could be mental abuse, physical, verbal, childhood
Mm.
trauma, military trauma, medical trauma. For one example is Marcelo used to have febrile seizures.
Yeah.
And even though now, before, I would freak out. I mean, he had a fever, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what's going to happen. It's going to happen this. I have to call the ambulance. I have to do this. I have to do that. And when I realized that was just a trauma, now he has fevers. I'm like, okay, he has a fever. This is what I have to do. This is what's going to happen next. Because what happens is if you don't take care of that PTSD, it will be triggered so fast. And it's easier to trigger, and the triggers last longer. So that fight mode becomes constant. So no matter what you do, even if you're not dealing with abuse right now, the trigger of maybe somebody raising your voice at the grocery store would immediately trigger that verbal abuse you used to have. So then what happens? You get anxious, you get defense, you just have all this, your body goes through all this stuff immediately. So pretty, pretty intense.
Pretty intense. But what I want to say before you give your call to action, I think it's very brave to share and be vulnerable like you are. And I know that you work with it and you help others. And I think that's very cool. I'm very proud of you.
She didn't tell me she was going to say that. Okay.
But I think hopefully it'll make other people understand it better as well.
Yes.
And that's why we wanted to do this episode today. So give some call to action, anyone in your situation or experiencing some form of PTSD or trauma. Give them something, because we like to leave you with something to do. And then it could be maybe it's not PTSD, maybe it's just some form of lighter trauma we all could do.
So one of the things I thought about is, what can I leave you with? I know people are probably thinking about a whole lot of stuff. And as entrepreneurs, I think of one of the things I really focus on, and when I encounter someone, is I've become really empathetic. Like, I love to help people. And one of the things I ask is, what would your life be? Like, if you were to write down, what would your success be? What would your relationships be? What would you authentically be? So if you can kind of
the manifestation,
or
visualization, or
what would you envision your life being without trauma? Like, if you didn't have to worry about this, what would it be? What would you look like? How would you treat people? And I want you to really write it down. You don't have to share it with us unless you want to. But I believe it just puts a lot in perspective as, what do you want to look like? Do you want to be able to go to the restaurant and not have to sit in the back, and feel safe? Do you want to be able to, drive? I couldn't drive when I got home. Overseas. Little things like that. What is something that, if you could do and overcome, what would it look like?
Yeah. And it could be something that's holding you back, even if it's not classified as PTSD. There's something that's holding you back. Is it a fight or an issue with gaining weight or losing weight? Or is it something that's holding you back that you feel is a crutch?
With anything. I mean, even if you're someone that's super successful and is always, super, organized and super detail oriented, what would it be if, you can elaborate and do this, and hands on this? So it's kind of just being able to, like you said, manifest. What would your life be like?
Yeah.
And I love manifestation. I think we have an episode coming up.
Yes, we have.
That is going to work on that.
Yeah.
But that's kind of
Yeah, and if you
it.
want to share, if you're brave, like Ingrid, go
No,
to
you
our
don't.
Facebook group and share. But again, it's for the individual to make it easier, not necessarily needed to share in a forum. But if you want to,
Yeah,
you
or
can.
share what you
Yeah,
have done
yeah,
that has helped you
yeah.
because what I've done doesn't work for everybody.
Hmm.
I mean, there's things that people have done. I'm like, "Oh, no, I'm
Yeah,
not going to do that."
yeah, I can see that. Well, all right. Well, that was great.
Thanks.
Well, thank you. And I hope you all enjoyed a little deeper dive in mental health or dive into mental health this week and what we could do to help and what we could do to help ourselves. And so please, if you haven't already, subscribe, rate, and review. And don't forget, we're on YouTube as well.
And
Yay.
you'll get to see Chance if you
And if you subscribe to the
subscribe.
newsletter, you get to see
It's
Chance.
so cute.
Yeah.
All
All
right,
right, everyone.
Christina.
So cheers to that one, right?
Yes.
Thank you. Until next time.
Cheers.
Cheers.